I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the book starter ride for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He is the CEO of Magna Leadership Solutions, and other than Dr. Kevin Gazzara.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for sharing me with your audience. I appreciate that.
Welcome, Dr. Kevin, on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Sure. I'll give you the quick introduction. I've spent 30 years in the corporate world. I spent the last almost 20 years doing management leadership consulting. My claim to fame was spent 18 years at Intel. I managed their many different organizations, but my last 6 years I managed Intel's management leadership development for the world for their residential programs, which focused on first and midline managers. And in addition to that, I was fortunate to retire at 50, started Magna Leadership Solutions, and we basically bring management leadership development and coaching to organizations, small to medium-sized organizations that didn't have that $10 million to spend like the big companies. So, and in addition to that, I've been a professor at 6 different universities, and I still am teaching today. So this is my passion about management and leadership, and that's kind of what drove me to work with my business partner, Dr. Ali Lakhani, to write the book, The Leader of Oz.
The leader of us, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Dr. Kevin. Thank you. And today let's talk about your book, The Leader of the Oz. So tell us in
Sure.
your
Well,
go ahead.
yeah. Well, let me tell you the first of all, it was a delight to write. We finished the first draft, the first version in 2008, and then did an updated version in 2011. So it's been out there for a while. But when we wrote it, we decided to write it to be evergreen. And Dr. Lakhani, who was my business partner at Magna Leadership when we started it back in 2007 after we left the corporate world, and Dr. Lakhani actually was a colleague of mine, another manager at Intel. And in addition to that, he was one of my doctoral students. So when I was teaching in the doctoral program, I helped him work on his dissertation as one of his committee members. And Dr. Lakhani created an awesome um, assessment that measures leadership practices on a quantitative basis. And it's based around a lot of the work that Gert Hofstede done on cultural leadership. So, so when we first started our company, we decided we wanted to write a book. We started with a focus on an academic book, but it was so boring that we didn't even want to read it. So we found out that both of us had one of our favorite movies and books was The Wizard of Oz. And I had this idea of, hey, let's write a business parable. Let's make the book fun to read. Let's have it academically grounded. So it's based around really good theory. And then let's talk about how you build great teams, just like Dorothy did, in The Wizard of Oz, and achieved her goal of getting back to Kansas. So we took that idea. We wrote the book in start to finish in 6 months to get it to be published. And it's been probably one of the best things we had ever done in order to get our consulting firm kind of launched off the ground. So basically took the story of the Wizard of Oz, and we used the same kind of characters. So anyone that's seen the Wizard of Oz, instead of having Dorothy, we have Dora. Instead of having like the cowardly lion, we had Howard Lee Lion. So the good news was most of the characters are already the personas are already built, and we basically follow the same kind of story of this company that's in Kansas gets whisked away and dropped into Silicon Valley, and you have the wicked VP from the east and the wicked VP from the west. So it's designed to be fun. So it's designed to be easy, and it's really designed so people can take it and immediately apply it in their organizations without having to have a a PhD or a doctorate in leadership.
Dr. Kevin, in your metaphor, what does the yellow brick road represent for today's leaders? Is it a strategic plan, a company's core values, or a journey of personal growth itself?
Yeah, great question, Daniel. The yellow brick road to us really represents a path, a general direction, and as you probably recognize in the in the movie and the book, is there are many forks in the road, right? Just like you have when you're in a corporate environment or you're doing consulting, and you have to make a decision, right? Do you? Some people go one way, some people go the other way. One of the things that we've learned is if you try to go both ways, you don't get anywhere, and you have to make decisions. And the best leaders really take their knowledge, tap into the expertise of the people that they have on their team, and they make decisions. And sometimes the decision is the correct road. Sometimes the decision is not the correct road. But I think the big difference is that leaders really take action, and rather than getting stuck at that split, that they take action and they move forward in an informed way, not just a haphazard way or flip of the coin.
In the informal way, and Dr. Kevin, the central lesson of Oz is the danger of the wizard, the illusion of authority. How do the 21st century leaders move from being the intimidating man behind the curtain to being an authentic, transparent guide?
Wow, man, that is a loaded question for sure. I think if I look at the kind of the world today, there's many people that have kind of a leader attached to them, and I think if you really look at leaders, it has really the true leaders are the ones that lead by example, that they provide ethical, uh, values based, human centric approaches. And I said many people have the leadership or have leader attached to their name, and that's attached usually sometimes because of position, sometimes of how people have placed them in there. But ultimately, a true leader is one that, as you had mentioned before, that's authentic, that really does the right thing, and is not focused on themselves. I think there's too many people that have leader attached to them that are these extreme narcissists, and to me, that's not really a leader. That's really someone that has, a leader has to have, they have to have followers, and they need to be able to convince people to come with them. And a true leader, if they have followers and they are following them, if the leader goes away, that direction of those followers doesn't change. And I think what we're seeing today is that many leaders, through coercion, through levels of dishonesty, level of kind of moral challenge, that they have followers, they're leading them, but when that leader goes away, everything stops, and that's really the true test of whether that person was a leader or a tyrant.
Dr. Kevin, what does home represent in your leadership philosophy? Is it about leaders' core purpose, the company's mission, or the culture they create for their team?
Okay, Daniel, you say that to me again.
Yes, definitely. Ms.
You,
Dr.
you're
Kevin, what?
you were breaking up just a little bit.
Yes, what does
Go ahead.
home represent in your leadership philosophy? Is it about leaders of course purpose, the company's mission, or the culture they create for their team?
Well, to me, Oz is the place that you want to get to, right? It's creating this all inclusive uh, collaborative environment. It doesn't have to be fancy and glitzy like Oz is, but if you've seen the movie or read the book, basically the people that live in Oz, even though the leader may be or the wizard may be somewhat of a sham, uh, ultimately what he has done is to create an environment where everyone's living well together, working together as teams. They have this kind of common purpose to be valuable to each other, to protect from to work with the good and protect from the bad. And to me, that's kind of what Oz is. I think some of the challenges with the city itself is because it has so much glitz and glamour. Sometimes people confuse that with value, and you can have both. You'd have the glitz and glamour along with the human value and the collaborative value. But if you only have the glitz and glamour, which we're seeing that many leaders today try to create, that once the leader is gone or once the glitz and glamour go away, that everything falls apart.
Dr. Kevin, the Emerald City is the glittering goal. How can leaders ensure their team's Emerald City is genuinely motivating vision and not just a superficial shiny object?
Yeah, I think there's too many people going after shiny objects these days, and I think Daniel, one of the things that we've learned is the best leaders really focus on others, right? That they act in a servant leader environment, and it's not so much getting to the Emerald City as it is creating the Emerald City. The value is in the creation, in the shared values. It is in people, like I said, people working together, listening to each other, respecting each other, having a moral code, right? And although the Emerald City is kind of glitzy and glamorous like that, uh, it doesn't mean that there's bad things inside. Although once again, if it is just a shell, that usually comes out later on as you find out when the curtain is pulled away from the wizard.
Beyond empathy, Dr. Kevin, what does having heart as a leader particularly look like in a daily decision making and handling difficult situations?
Well, I'm going to quote from one of my favorite leaders, Andy Grove, and Andy was one of the founders and CEO and president of Intel. And I was fortunate enough to be able to be working at Intel when Andy was still in charge and when he was still around. And I had several opportunities to interact with Andy, and Andy's in one of Andy's books, which I highly recommend to the listeners, is Only the Paranoid Survive. Uh, and what Andy had said is, um, and I'm probably going to get some of the wording wrong. He basically said is in order to be successful in an organization, you have to be hard charging and yet fair and humble with others, right? So that you have to have that human centric piece and not forget the results orientation piece. I think there's too many companies and organizations that go after the brass ring and go after the results at the expense of their people, and they really can't sustain that loyalty and trust. And in the short term, that may look um, positive. In the long term, it's just not sustainable. So if you take that servant leadership model, you take the long term view, you do the right thing for people, even if it means some short term disadvantage. Ultimately, I think you're going to have a sustainable organization.
Dr. Kevin, the lion found courage. What is the specific kind of courage today's leaders most need that is different from the past?
Well, I think and that's a great observation, Daniel. The lion who found the courage, to me is a great metaphor and a representation that, really the best leaders uh, develop more leaders, right? And I think that was really the intention of Dorothy, right? That she brings the three individuals, the scarecrow, the tin man, and the lion together, right? And they realize that each one of them has a different strengths, and the cowardly lion moves from being someone in the kind of in the shadows to the forefront. And and I think what happens is, Dorothy really is the leader of the crew. Now she's locked up in the castle, so there is no leader. So someone has to step forward. And I think the confidence that Dorothy helped the lion develop up to that point, and when he was needed, he stepped forward. And really, the best leaders, what they do is they allow others to lead when they have the opportunity to really tap into some expertise that they may have. I think there's too many leaders out there today that think because I have that manager or leader title or VP, whatever it is, that they have that title, that they believe that they have to be in front and they have to do it all themselves. And the best leaders realize that sometimes you lead from the front, and then sometimes you lead from the back, and it's being able to balance that. And it's not abdicating your position. It's really saying, hey, this other person, I've developed them. They have some additional knowledge or talent or experience, and even though I may not be at that level, although I may have a title, I need to allow them to step into that position with my support, of course.
Dr. Kevin, the scarecrow sought a brain in an age of AI and big data. What is the unique form of human wisdom that leaders most cultivate to make a truly marvelous decisions?
um, well, the Scarecrow is an interesting character. He's really seeking kind of this. He's seeking more wisdom than knowledge, right? That he has some knowledge from awareness, but he hasn't been able to put it into practice. And I think there's many people like that, organizations that have worked for us or we have worked for, and what they've done is they are collectors of knowledge, but because they haven't applied it, uh, they've really lost out on the wisdom, right? So if you have to have a foundation of knowledge to create the wisdom, when you just try to create the wisdom without the knowledge and you're just working on gut feel, and you're not really utilizing um, AI or whatever other knowledge source that you have, then I think that's where things get problematic.
The Wicked Witch of the West. What is the modern wicked witch that threaten teams and organization today? Is it burnout, internal politics, or something else?
Well, I think it can be an individual. I think it also can be an approach or a philosophy of an organization. I think probably so. Let's address two things. So I think there's many people that have escalated to a certain level in an organization through whatever ways, whether it's political, whether it's influence, whether it's blackmail, whatever. I think there's many people that have kind of escalated to a certain level in the organization, even beyond kind of what their capabilities are, and they are hiding behind the title, and they're using kind of fear and intimidation in order to kind of stay there. And I think ultimately that comes out, and they will be found out. But I think if I look at the Wicked Witch, you know, and I look at venture capitalists. We used to call them vulture capitalists when I was in the corporate world. I think that vulture or venture capital approach also is really a wicked witch, and not an individual, but a process. And with venture capital, it's how do I squeeze the most amount of money without a focus on long-term longevity and growth, right? How can I break things up into little tiny pieces, suck off all of the profit, and then just allow things to die and move on to the next piece. And I think there's having that mentality, that venture capital mentality of it's all about just the money and the profit, and it's not about longevity and building values, trustable organizations. I think is probably I would say is a wicked witch that we're all experiencing.
Speaking of the witch, Dr. Kevin, the good witch Glinda was a guide, not a commander. How does this model of leadership meet the needs of a modern workforce?
Yeah, I think if you look at Glinda, and in our book it's Glenda, um, it's a very similar name there. The the thing is that Glenda is working in what I would say is a coach capacity, right? So if you really look at someone that's a wonderful coach, is they are drawing the best out of each other. They're not telling you what to do. They're asking the right questions so you can kind of determine yourself of what the why is. And I think we need, and there's books, manager as coach, for example. There's many books out there that really talk about the importance of acting as a coach. Um, and the difference between coaching and consulting, and we meld the two in our firm. We call it coach consulting. Is coaching really pulls out what you know with the focus around the current environment, right, and help people discover, but also there's certain challenges that people may not have the tools or experience, that no matter how much you try to coach them and pull things out, if you haven't given them the right tools, they're going to fail. So you need kind of that combination. So Glinda really, I think, to me, represents the exceptional model for a pure coach, and at the same point in time, you need to have other people like Dorothy, who it really brings more of the consulting role in, is the pull the team together, bring the knowledge, make decisions, and so forth. And you can have one or the other. When you have both, that's really where the power exists.
Dr. Kevin, how can the principles of Oz be applied to lead a team that is not walking the same physical yellow brick road, but is distributed and remote?
Well, I think the world has, from COVID, has recognized the value of working remotely. And I think if you look at all the studies that people are going to, well, all of the studies point to the being remote as something of value. And I don't think it's so much having the remoteness as it is having that flexibility, particularly in today's workforce and with the younger generation, providing the next generation with opportunities, with flexibility, with the ability to have more of a work-life balance. I think is so important. Being able to work from home and do your best work wherever you are, I think is really important. Face to face, where you're not working remotely, also I think has its value. And I think it's not one or the other. I think it's a combination of both. I think there's many organizations that have truly adopted and figured out how virtual works for them, and they've excelled at it. I think there's some other organizations, kind of older line organizations, that have uh, feel like they need what we call butts and seats. That if I can't see you, you're not working. And I think that is tied to the older generation, my generation, the baby boomers. And I think ultimately that will go away. So I think you have to have a little bit of a balance for sure.
Okay, Dr. Kevin, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, I'm a book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in third season, and food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101, love letters, movie 101, music 101, our fourth season, science 101, sex 101 in second season of my baby podcast, law 101, Mental Health 101 and Bible Verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Dr. Kevin, if you could have every leader embody just one of those 101 secrets starting tomorrow, which one would have the most transformative impact in their leadership journey?
Well, there's three commandments, and if you read Harvard Business Review, they'll support this. And the best leaders really pay attention to the first commandment. And the first commandment of great leadership is know thyself. It's really spending the time to understand yourself, and then you can move on to the second commandment of understanding others. And the third commandment is initiating and sustain change. Because if you just understand yourself and you understand others and you don't do anything with it, then it's not true leadership. So my recommendation would be is get a coach, get a mentor, invest the time for yourself, and realize that you may not see a direct cause and effect relationship in the short term. You will certainly see the correlation in the long term of how that makes a difference. So trust in yourself, trust the process, and a journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. So start today.
Start today, people. Stop procrastinating. Dr. Kevin Gazzara, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your book, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
So if you want to really learn how to build a great team, Leader of Oz is a simple, easy way to understand it. It's all academically grounded, and hopefully it's an interesting read for you as well. And if anyone wants to have a conversation with me, they can reach me at kevin@magnaleadership.com, Magna. And my promise to all of you is if you want to connect with me, I will do. There's absolutely no sales pitch. You're not going to get a sales pitch from me. I'm not going to sell you anything. If I can be helpful to you, and I can give back to the world, that really is kind of hopefully my purpose in life.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Dr. Gavin Gazzara because if you support him for sure, more and more Magna leadership solutions will rise. So, Dr. Kevin, thank you so much for your time.
Dana, it's been my pleasure. Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.